Coming to you live tonight from the campus of Focus Hope. We're in the Center for Advanced Technologies, which is one of the facilities where Focus Hope students can advance their education and their career goals. As you'll see in this next video, Focus Hope has numerous programs designed to bridge the racial divide here in Southeast Michigan.
Focus Hope's mission is to overcome racism, poverty, and injustice. And we do that in a variety of ways. The workforce development programs, Hope Village Initiative, the food commodity program, and the early childhood initiatives.
We offer programs in manufacturing as well as information technology. It's not just about delivering a class, it's not just about instructing or providing skills, it's really about changing a mentality of a population of people who have been left behind.
It just kind of gave me a firm sense of discipline when it comes down to studying and setting a goal. Everything was there for me, I had to go get it now.
Joining me now is the CEO of Focus Hope, William Jones, along with Shirley Stancato, who is the president and CEO of NUA Detroit, which also works to eliminate racial disparities. Welcome, both of you, to American Black Journal.
Well, thank you. Thank
you. We should note that both of your organizations founded in 1967 after the unrest, the rebellion here in Detroit to try to deal with the racial disparities that we have. Talk about I'm curious from both of you, we're coming up on 50 years later, how much further are we down that road? William, I'll start with you.
Well, Focus Hope actually came together on March 8th, 1968. It's sort of the birth date of it, but the impetus behind it was most definitely the rebellion of 1967. Relative to how far we've come along, I think we've made tremendous strides in terms of institutional racism, the legislated racism, but I'm not certain that we've made as much of a progress as we'd like to believe we have in terms of the unconscious biases, the way people react to one another in our society.
Yeah. Shirley?
So we started in 1967. As a matter of fact, when I talk about how New Detroit started, I say a week after the civil disturbance or the riot or the rebellion, based upon your perspective.
Choose your name,
right? The Governor Romney, called up Mayor Kavanaugh and said, we didn't see this coming. What should we do? They tapped Joe Hudson, family was the head of the Hudson's department store, and he, by the way, was 32 years old. And he pulled together a group of individuals, originally called the New Detroit Committee, to begin to look not just at what happened, but the reasons behind what happened.
William, here at Focus Hope, you guys are deeply involved in job training, and not just job training in the sense of, well, I'll teach you to do something and good luck out in the world trying to find work, but training people for specific jobs that exist. Connect that to the discussion about race and racism, jobs and race. What do they have to do with each other?
Well, they've got quite a bit to do with each other. I didn't grow up in Detroit. I grew up in Hampton, Virginia. And race relations there were a lot different than my perception of what existed here in Detroit at that time. But you always had a sense that folks were consigned to a certain tier of jobs, unless your parents made a committed effort to make certain that you got the education, the opportunities, that you knew that you could be a doctor, a lawyer, somebody else that wasn't normally made available to you. And in our community in Virginia, we had, I would say, much more egalitarian approach to it. The deacon in your church might also be the janitor at your school. We were taught to respect everybody. I'm not certain. As a matter of fact, I am certain that there wasn't always propagated elsewhere, And here at Focus Hope, even today, as we train people for jobs, as we try to bring in economic opportunity, we want to make certain that they're not consigned to certain types of jobs. Simply because the educational system might have failed you, or the color of your skin, or you may not have had this opportunity, that opportunity. We think that we can intercept people at different points in their lives and certainly promote with them the idea that they can succeed at something much, much higher.
Yeah, and it's not easy to maintain this kind of institution, this kind of program in the current climate, the current political climate, right? Where the idea of this kind of long-term investment in human capital is a really tough sell.
It's a very, very tough sell. Everybody wants an instant response. Well, first place, a lot of people don't recognize that these things need to be done.
Sure.
You know, much the same way that as folks look at Detroit public schools as an example that always pops into my mind. The single most important thing that they have to do in any of the school systems is educate the kids properly.
Right.
Not just for today's jobs, tomorrow's jobs. After that, you can start to talk about, do we balance the budget and the other things. But if you haven't taken care of the educational needs and the aspirations of the children, damn the budget.
Yeah, right. What are you
Okay,
doing?
I'm sorry.
Right.
You know.
That's why we had you on.
Okay.
Shirley, you guys have a big 50th anniversary coming up next year, along with the rebellion or the riots or the disturbance. And you guys are taking a tack there that really is going to try to get people engaged in this space where we're thinking about race differently than we do now or than we have for the last 50 years.
I believe that New Detroit was created really to provide racial healing in one way or another in this community. And so our 50th anniversary is next year. And we really, for the last 18 months, have been embarking on a project that we're going to present. We're going to announce it real soon, but we're calling it our 50th anniversary Racial Healing Project. And so what we're going to do is we're working with organizations that are part of New Detroit. But the key pieces of the project are to look at your own genealogy. We're going to have genealogists work with you to help you do your own, as opposed to having someone hand it to you, as we see in some of the television programs. But to do your own genealogy, and then historians will help to trace that genealogy over 150 to 200 years, looking at the markers that around race, what was happening racially in this country for the 150 and 200 years. And then we're going to do a DNA testing using the National Geographic's Genome Project to have people look at DNA. And not the idea is, but I think we all know that race is a social construct. Oftentimes I say racism created race, that there's no biological, there's no gene for race. And so we're gonna have people look at that, look at the genealogy, and then look at the DNA. And we're asking them to have conversations either with their colleagues, their community, the churches, but major conversations to talk about that. So think about it, Stephen, when you do yours, and you get to have that discussion perhaps with another editor from another newspaper in the city to talk about sort of where you come. Everybody came from Africa, and what are the other pieces of that? To look at race as something made up, and we're fighting about it every day in every way across the world, really. And so when you look at the fact that it really is made up by people who wanted to continue to separate us, I think that's another place for us to start to begin to do healing.
New Detroit is also deeply involved in the discussion about education here in Detroit. It seems to me we just keep chasing our tail here, right? We never get anywhere forward.
I can't believe it, because New Detroit from its origins realized that education was one of the pieces of the puzzle that needed to happen, needed to occur to close the gap. And so every president and CEO of New Detroit has worked on education in a way. We just spent the last 18 months as a part of the Coalition for Detroit School Children focused on education and changing, and we really had gone pretty far. We were excited that we actually had the Senate to say yes to the recommendations. And then it went to the House, and we know what happened there. But it is something that we really have to continue to do. This country is falling further and further behind the rest of the world. The state of Michigan really is about 47th out of 50 when it comes to educating kids. It's not just Detroit. We've got to change the way we fund schools. We've got to change what happens in the classroom. So still a lot of work to do. We're not looking at it really as a defeat. We made some strides, but we still have a lot of work to do, and we have to keep our eyes on the prize.
Yeah, we've got about a minute left. I ask almost everyone else this question. One thing that gives you hope?
Like the previous speakers, the young people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you see them here every day. Right?
We see them here every day. Unfortunately, too many of the ones that we see are coming from extraordinarily difficult circumstances. Sure. But then there are others who are here who just inspire you. We've got a freedom school down at the Center for Children just a few steps away from here, and it's amazing. It is amazing to see the enthusiasm, the affection, the love, the energy, the desire to learn on parts of these young folks.
Right, in a school where the children are people that a lot of folks would just write off because of where they're from.
Except we don't
Guys,
write
you
them all.
don't, right?
We don't
That's right.
write them all.
Right.
Go ahead, Shirley.
Couple things. First of all, the fact that what gives me hope is the fact that the business community is still at the table. A lot of major corporations move their headquarters away, but the next generation has stepped in, and that continues to keep me excited. And the other thing really is the young people. I have to say that. But what I tell people all the time is that young people come to us and they say, you know what? Our parents are hypocrites because they say one thing and they do another. They're watching what you do, not what you say. And so what they want is a safe place to have conversations with kids who don't look like them so that they can really get to know them and then to move forward. So I'm excited about that.
All right. Thanks, both of you, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.